Welcome back to Herb-O-Matic. So far in our airplane project is, I showed you guys the key to getting women. Step 1, get an airplane. Step 2, there is no step 2. Women come with airplanes. Make sure you get a wood grain interior. They love that. This one had no engine, but her father had an engine he gave to me just to take her off his hands. I installed the engine. It took exactly 1 second. And then I got distracted by this guy, and I got sucker punched by John Cena. I beat him up. I'm wearing the mask there. And the wife was upset about the violence, so I had to live in the airplane. I didn't sleep well. Look, when you're just plain living, hygiene's very important. So pull back the skin and clean the whole thing. My head's been spinning faster than these pliers. She took all the cars, so I've been riding this motorcycle. The bolts were too heavy, so I had to lighten them up. I bought her these gold bolts to win her back, but she knew I bought them just for me. I installed a bigger alternator because she likes the planes that go boom. Look, it worked. She came back and we ate Mexican food. We found a crack in the main spar, but it wasn't too bad. It provided a softer ride in turbulence. Aviation isn't always cracked up to be. We got these pliers from Harbor Freight, but they weren't grinder proof. You can't work on grinders with them. So we removed the cow flaps because we don't haul cows. A 1/16 of an inch was giving me low self-esteem, so I got the shrinker stretcher kit from Harbor Freight. We threw out the shrinker, didn't need that. So let's take a gander at the expander and see if it'll help our salamander. Ouch! It did work though. Look, the results don't lie. And 2 rounds works even better. But it was too wide, so we had to squish it down a little bit. And then I gave it a curve to the left. The particular curve you're gonna need depends on your woman. The wife brought out 2 clamps. She was too aggressive, and we lost all our results. Then we were disappointed to find out that the Harbor Freight gold bits work just like the other ones that aren't gold. And then we did a valve job on our plane that uses the tiniest of valves. Very odd. Then the Taco Bell I had for lunch came back to haunt me. So I bought a new pair of pants, and I put some cooling holes in Salamander at the wife's request. She still didn't like it, so I just used it to fix the crack we found in the spar earlier, but don't worry, mine grows back. No pressure, but you should subscribe, because I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to you. Or your fingertips. Anyways, the repair came out great. Looks awesome. Then we did a magic trick for my dog, the dude. Okay, let's get back to the project.
All right, I had to tear the baffling back off. I've got a piece here. And here's what's going on. There's this massive crack here going up like this. And I had to repair that so you can see all these new rivets. And what I did was I made a plate, just like this, out of 40 thousandths thick aluminum. And I shaped it to fit. This has a lot of curves, as you can see here. And I shaped it and riveted it, and had to, include this little hole for this blast tube. This one needs repair as well. Take a look here. So here's the hole where one of the mounting holes are. You can see this one busted out. And so somebody along the way came and bolted this one on. It's loose because I loosened it. But see, on this side they used like flush head hardware store screws. So because this goes up against the fins of the cylinder along the bottom. How it works here is something kind of like this. This isn't the right match. This goes around the barrel of the cylinders, so the 2 outer cylinders, and this will go across the cylinder heads, and there's a rod that goes in here and tightens up. What they did was they bolted this on here, and it's no good. I don't like it, and it's abrading one of my oil return lines if I were to leave it like that. We can't reuse these holes. They're just way too large. And we need to use flush head rivets on this side because it goes up against the cylinder like we talked about earlier. In fact, you can see the grooves the cylinders fins have made in the RTV. So here's like 60 thousandths or 63 thousandths, 2024. Grain is running this way, so we want to bend perpendicular to it. So here's this one is with the grain, cracks forming. Against the grain, no cracks forming. The rag is going to help soften our bend a little bit. Now to get a relatively tight bend around this rag here, I'm going to use a hammer, help it along. Nice tight bend here. Okay, now we need to take our plate and put a little curve on the back side so it follows along. Okay, so I'm just going to flex this. Little bouncies to get a nice gentle curve. Stick it in a little bit more. Now a nice gentle curve is okay, guys, but if you're way off to the one side, they don't like that. So see, we're getting a little curve now. Well, in this case, a little curve to the right. A little curve up is probably the best one to have. But look at this, getting close. Stick her in just a little bit, just tip here. This rag is going to kind of spread that curve out. Little bounce. So that's where we're at. May have gone just a little bit too far. Let's take out a little bit right along this crown. All right, I'd say that's pretty close. It's good enough for government work. Check it out. So let's cut off any extra we got. You can see that this was clearanced to go around something, so let's mark that and cut that. Now that I'm done with the most violent parts of the forming, I'm gonna get rid of this plastic. I'll make this little bend here a little bit shorter. Okay, so that's what our patch is looking like so far. We can't go within 2 diameters of a edge, so let's keep it away from the edges a little bit. You guys are waiting for that to go through my finger, but no such luck today, friends. Okay, so let's pull our clecos. All right, let's deburr these holes. Okay, let's take a look here. We want flush. Let's try 4-5. Okay, now our goal here is to countersink until the head of our rivet is flush with the material. A little bit more than that. That's going to be pretty good. Do you see how flush our rivet is there? This is too sloppy. So let's turn up our power just a little bit. So this little gauge here will tell us how close we are on forming our shop head. Check this out. So it should fit on there, but not be loose. That's pretty good. And then this thing right here should pass over the top. So we're good. We got a good setting. Let's put our clecos back in. They vibrated out. Just hit it. Rock and roll. And we'll just use 3/16 so it doesn't shatter around. The rod that goes in there is 3/16. Wallow it out just a little bit so the rod goes in there a little easier. Here's our completed repair. It's beautiful. I'm gonna go dry fit this. Let's go, or if you guys are lucky, maybe I'll wet fit it. Okay, so this is where this goes. Let me bring you guys down here. Let's take a look here. Okay, there's our new hole there. That's fine. Doesn't cause any issues whatsoever. Look at this hole. Look how wallowed out it is. It's not long for this world. So while I have it off, it'll take me, 30, 45 minutes. I'm gonna just make a little doubler. All right, I went ahead, same exact material, 063 or 63 thousandths. This material is 50 thousandths, and I made this little plate here. What that's gonna do is just beef up this area so that it doesn't tear out on me, because this hole is it's getting ready to give up the ghost. I don't know why I said it like that, ghost. All right, let's take a look at all our little repairs we made to our baffling. So this hole is completely blown out. So here's my little patch there. And then here's some more. I could have cut this off. Kind of wish I did, but I didn't. So there it is. There's a couple more repairs. It all came out very well. I like it. No need in spending, $1,500 on a whole new baffling, but it just needed a few hours of love. And honestly, it's actually better off than new because we don't have these super thin eyelets that are going to blow out on us every time. Okay, now we got to put this thing in. Nobody really knows what this does, but it was there. So let's just pop it back in. It goes right here. Now, you want to take this out because this is like a restrictor. You take this out before you mount this up there so that you can make more power, because air goes through this thing. It's got a, if we look in there, it's got a flapadoodle in there that restricts the air. So basically what we could do on this lever is we just wire this open so that you get the most air. Because if you go closing this, it's just going to slow you down. Okay, if we take a look at this side, this is your mixture arm. And what that does is, from the cockpit, you got a little lever, and you can adjust the mixture depending on what kind of drink you want. So here's a little ball joint here. We're going to slip that on the bolt. And a little spacer because it's installed at an angle. And then we're going to put this large washer in case that ball joint fails. We'll still have the outer housing on the bolt. So we'll put a large washer. And then we're going to put a castle nut here. They used to use these to build castles, so they're called that. There's a hole drilled in this bolt. So we're going to thread this on. Okay, so here we go. Okay, that doesn't feel tight enough, so we'll go one more. Okay, there's our hole. This right here is known as the Mechanic's Bible. Has a different name too, a long one. So if we take a look here, we can see they show you two different methods for doing cotter pins. I like this method here because the little head of the cotter pin will go between the nooks of the castle nut. I like that the best. But you can also do this one here. And they talk about it. Don't let this tail touch the washer. Don't let this tail be longer than the diameter of the bolt, etc. And this book has every detail, for the most part, of acceptable practices for fixing anything in a aircraft safely in the right way. So we'll take our cotter pin and we'll put the long side towards the top here. And then we'll use our Chanel lock brand here. I only use the best name brands. And let's just push her in there a little bit. Now let's grab the tail, bring her around the head of the bolt. Okay. Now the tail is not supposed to exceed the diameter of the bolt, so let's cut that. I look away for safety. And when we bend this tail down, we don't want it to touch our washer. So let's shorten her up a little bit. And we'll bend her down. This tail's folded over the nut, but it's not touching our washer. This one's going across the head of our bolt, but not exceeding our bolt diameter. And our head is tucked in between a couple of those crowns. So, I mean, we're in there good. We didn't crack the cotter pin or anything. And on aircraft, you do not reuse cotter pins. So if you take a look over there, I've got a mess of them hanging up. Okay, now we know we're going to safely have our cocktail anytime we mess with the mixer valve. As a safety check, I just need you to yank on those. I need you to stroke those knobs back and forth. There's 3 of them. Hang on.
This one?
Yeah, there's 3 knobs in the middle. Yeah, pull on that. Gentle. Okay, in a minute I'm gonna have you push it back in. Hang on. She's got the red tipped one, which is our mixology lever. So we're gonna see if it has full travel. Okay, carefully push it all the way in. So we're against our stopper here. Okay, we're against our stopper again. Now let's check for binding on this cable. Pull it all the way out, nice and gentle. Yep. Okay, I don't see any binding. We have a little swivel joint here. Everything's cool. Push it all the way out. Okay. Now grab the black one. It doesn't have a button. Pull it all the way out, nice and gentle. Okay, that's our throttle. Okay, so we're all the way against our stop. Push it all the way in. And once again, we're on our stop on the other side there. Okay, that looks good. Now, we'll do the same thing on our prop. Go ahead and push the blue one all the way in. Okay, now pull the blue one all the way out. All right. Was that as good for you as it was for me? Yeah. It was? Okay. All right, get out of the cockpit. Get out of there. You like it in there? You would. All right, guys, we're getting ready to put the prop on, but first I wanted to show you this engine stand from Harbor Freight. Now, they don't make this model anymore. This one's pretty dang fast. And not a lot of people have them anymore because they get away from them. So, yeah, these are pretty awesome. You still got your tow hook here, but you don't have to push it up to the car. It just shoots right over there. So, anyways, wish Harbor Freight would bring this back. A lot of safety issues with it, but if you're careful, gets the job done. All right, guys, we stole the prop off our limited edition Harbor Freight engine stand here. We got it over here on the table, and we gave it a paint job. Now, if the prop is out of balance, when they overhaul it, they'll add these weights. You see these little weights they're screwed in here? You can see there's some on the bottom side there, and there's a couple up here. And then they're safety wired in place so they don't go flying off. And what that indicates to me is that this blade over here is considerably heavier than this blade. What are you doing? Nothing. She's out riding the clown bike. Now we're just cleaning the bolt threads. And we've got the wife's toothbrush. It's a pretty beefy toothbrush because redheads have thicker hair and thicker teeth, so they need these thicker brushes like this. And we're just cleaning out any shmoo from the threads here that will affect our torque reading. The reason why your torque reading is important is this thing's really just a big fan because it gets hot in there. And if you lose the fan, the pilot starts sweating, and that's me. So anytime this thing either stops or goes away, I start sweating. That's how you know that this thing's for cooling down the pilot. All right, while the prop is off, it's a good time to clean our starter Bendix drive real quick. So we're just gonna take a silicone lubricant and spray the shaft here. And this side looks pretty clean. Let's pull out the thing. It's coming out pretty free. Just rotate it. Okay, you see we got some shmoo here. Let's clean that off. Get that front bushing. All right, beautiful. Now she slides back and forth on that perfectly, guys. All right, let's take a look at our prop flange here. Let's measure these bushings. 0.75, 0.78, 0.75, 0.72, 7.5, 7.5. So they're all 7.5 except for this one is a little fatty. 7.8. This is our starter ring and our mount for our spinner here. Let's check these holes. There's one over here marked with a 0. Let's see what that gives us. That's 0.78, so that's our big hole. And what that does is this indexes this starter ring here because it's got our timing marks on the back, so you want that to be indexed. So we'll just put this on, and we cannot forget, this is the alternator belt. If you install the prop without the alternator belt, the prop has to come back off. So we're gonna slip this on real quick here. And then we're gonna take our 0 hole, line that up with our fatty, rotate it, there you go. Let's pull this out right now. Doing it on video for a sanity check. So there is nothing down inside this hole. There is nothing back there. So let's not freak out anymore. Okay, look, I've taken the rag out of this side. There's no rag in that hole either. Okay, so we got our rubber here. This is a familiar size to me, about like this. And we're just gonna slip this in this groove here. Careful not to twist it. Okay, that popped right in. Now, a lot of times when you're shoving your crank in this hole here, this rubber will cause a lot of extra friction. So you want to use your favorite lube. This is our favorite here. And we're just gonna stick it in here. I'm just gonna make sure that we don't have anything on our face. Do we get a little dribble on the chin here? Okay, let's take a look at indexing on this prop. Do you notice it's got relief holes on every one of them except for this one? Let's go look over at the crank, and we'll see that 4 of them stick up and 2 of them are recessed. See that? So that means that the prop could either be indexed like this or like this. It doesn't really matter because the prop is symmetrical, but that's what that's telling us. Okay, what I like to do when the wife is around and I'm installing this is curl it a few times. It gets the fluid going. So do this top right one.
There.
I think I can let go of it. Let me rest my arms for just a second. I mean, fine. Now this is the game we gotta play, guys, is these bolts are captured. So you have to work your way around. See, we're not even at the prop flange yet. I mean the crankshaft flange. So we gotta work around evenly to tighten these. And if you don't do it evenly, you will bind everything up and you could ruin the crank and or the prop hub. Yeah. She was supposed to remind me about the belt, guys, and then it's the one thing I told her about. She didn't do it. So if we didn't put the belt on, what I was gonna do is just run a wire from where the alternator goes into the cabin, and then I was just gonna put a crank on it, and she was gonna have to sit with it in her lap and crank it the whole time. So, but if she would have been doing that, I might have got jealous partway through the flight. Okay, what happens is, as you tighten, say you tighten that one, it'll pull the flange forward until it starts touching the head of this bolt. So we're not using any force, we're just carefully spinning these. And we just have to work our way around evenly. And then once we get to the actual crankshaft, which we're not there yet, still got 1/8 of an inch or so, then we have to be extra careful. Okay, we haven't got to the engine flange yet, so what I want to do is support the weight from this propeller. And let's just properly support this thing. Make our life a little easier. Okay, now our prop is more or less floating here. Very easily move it, so now let's just work our way around. We're coming up on our flange now. Our gap on our top is bigger than our gap on our bottom, so let's go ahead and increase this height a little bit. What's going on, Terry?
A lot. Well, you're making a lot of progress there, dude.
Yeah, it's come along, slowly but surely. That's my hangar neighbor, Terry. We're friends. He doesn't know we're friends, but we are. One day I'll tell him that we're friends, and then he'll know. Okay. Now we're getting torque here, so must be starting to get pressed onto those bushings there. All right, guys, she's on there. If you don't feel like dying, your next step is we got to take a torque wrench and get her torqued. Okay, let's take a look at our manual here. And first thing first here is you have to use a special wrench here, and this is called the reach around tool from Hartzell, because you're reaching around this to grab the nuts. If you use it like that, 90 degrees, you won't have to make any adjustments, right? You won't have to do any math. But if you do it like this, you're going to have to use this math here. And right here we see the actual torque required. Okay, so we take our spec, which is, say, 65, times the torque wrench length, means we have to go from the center of our handle to the pivot point of the head here, divided by the torque wrench length plus the length of the adapter, right? Because now the problem is that we've gotten more leverage. And then we'll get the torque wrench setting. Let's say 65 foot-pounds. That's our torque we want. And multiply that times the torque wrench length, 18.5, divided by the torque wrench length plus the length of the adapter. Plus our adapter is 3 inches. So let's do our math here. 65 times 18.5, and we get 1202.5, and we divide that by 21.5. And now we see our setting that we need is 56 foot-pounds. Okay, so if we use our wrench like this, we set it for 56 foot-pounds, and we do it like this, that's going to be 65 foot-pounds. An easier way to do that is whatever your torque setting is, just reverse the numbers. See how we got 56, 65? I'm just kidding, guys. Don't go breaking off your bolts. Okay, the other thing we want to look at is our torque sequence here. You see we're getting it's a crisscross pattern. So you go one side, the other side, that side, this side, this side. Okay, so we want to go in a crisscross pattern. And also, we can go in 2 stages. So we'll go to half, so we'll go to 30, and then we'll go up to our 65 or 56, depending on how we angle our dangle.
So this is what the math looks like. I'm going to torque it in 2 stages. And the first stage is if I use the wrench at 90, you keep 30 foot-pounds. And if I use it at 0, here's the math, we're going to need 24.4 foot-pounds. Here's our 65 foot-pounds. If we use it at 0 degrees, we're going to need 52.8 foot-pounds instead of 65.
And what I'm going to do here, so I don't have to think too hard, is I'm going to put a bolt at the top, just like they have it. Anytime I can eliminate thinking, then I will. So now we'll do it in that exact sequence so we don't lose track. There's our different values ready to go. Okay, after dinging my brand new paint job twice, went ahead and decided to fix the issue. Okay, now I'm using the adapter straight, so just switch our preset. Okay, you want to arrive at your desired torque with the bolt moving. You don't want to do it static. Static torque is a lot different than dynamic torque. So we've gone around, they're all torqued to 25. Let's change it to 52.8 because it looks like straight adapter is the easiest. Okay, so they're all torqued. Hey Kylie, I need you to witness. What you're gonna do is just put a little K on the flat of the bolt. Okay, because I am paranoid, she's gonna mark each one as witnessed it getting its full torque. I've gone around in the sequence and now we're just going around clockwise to double check every bolt. Because if your prop comes off, it gets pretty sweaty in the cabin pretty quickly. Not in a good way. Okay, the wife has blessed each bolt with a K for Kylie, so that if we're ever going down in a blaze of glory, this is her fault too. She assigned her name to it. Okay, now we need to safety the wires, and we're going to use 0.032 according to the Heart Cell manual. And if we take a close look here, you can see that there's a hole that comes out the side of this bolt. Well, we can't use that one. We can't just have the safety wire come straight out of there because this would be a neutral. It's not really pulling the bolt tight or loose. So what we want to do is we're going to wrap around this way, and it's a pain in the ass. So we'll just kind of make a loop. It's a little bit bigger than the area we need. Looks pretty good. You can always cut more, but you can't add any. Or what's my barber say? We're just gonna pull the wires tight so they conform to the bolt. Okay, so we locked our pliers, squeezed it tight, push the sleeve back. And we're just gonna go ahead and twist this until we're tight around our bolt. Safety wire pliers are awesome. You clamp them down, you squeeze them, pull the sleeve back, locks in place, then you can pull this knob and it'll twist them for you automatically. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So now what we gotta do is we gotta feed our safety wire back under the bolt. Come on. Now, we'll figure out where our wire is gonna go into our bolt and we'll grab it right there. Now let's twist the rest of it. Now this one will go in here. Okay, now I'm pulling tight on the cord. Okay, now at this end, we have to twist it backwards and the pliers don't do that, so I gotta do it. They do make some real nice ones that will. This just ain't them. We need a little bit more. The tail is typically slightly tighter than the main part, but I feel that's getting pretty tight, so we stop. We'll cut these. You can cut them with safety wire pliers, but these get in there a little easier. This is razor sharp, so we want to fold that out of the way. So there's one pair of bolts safety wired. We actually came out that side, wrapped around underneath over this hump, and grabbed that side. Now the safety wire wants to tighten both bolts. And at the end here, see our safety wire is taut. You don't want your safety wire vibrating around or it'll fracture. Okay, all our prop bolts are safetied. They're all paired up and safetied in the correct direction. Triple and quadruple checked. All right, we have to put white stripes at the end or contrasting colors. I've got some white rattle cans, so we're gonna scuff the end here and give it some white stripes. Putting white stripes here will make it play some pretty cool songs. It'll actually start to play Seven Nation Army if you get the RPM just right. You have to scuff any kind of paint that's shiny, or no new paint will stick to it, especially since this paint's going to be going near the speed of sound. Okay, we're ready to give them a spritz. We've got everything wiped down with mineral spirits and dried. Wife is on shaking duty. She's doing a good job. Ooh. She's excited because we're getting ready to go home. So that's going to be our tack coat. That's going to help it bond so we don't get runs. Then we'll do our heavy coat right after this. That looks pretty good. So we'll let that set. Oh, so those are the little protective plugs that are in the exhaust ports. Yeah, it'll be good. So, really disappointing news is I waited the 2 days you're supposed to for Rust-Oleum to recoat, but look at what it did. So, I'm going to have to do something here. I don't know what, but this took 2 days to paint this propeller, and now I've got horrible reactions all across it, so it's awful. Okay, after that disaster, I quickly took some acetone and scrubbed it back down to bare metal just between the tape lines and reprimed it and repainted it, this time with no reaction. So it was terrible. It's been drying for about 15 minutes. Came out perfect, guys. And a side benefit is now the stripes are at the same level as the black instead of on top of it. It wasn't my intention, but it was a pretty good save, at least on this end. Let's hope that this end came out okay. Let's hope for a hat trick here. right, guys. So when stuff goes wrong, never stop giving up. Just keep going. Now we got the stripes on the ends of the propeller and it looks good. So now I'm gonna go home and drink profusely because that was a stressful event after taking like 2 or 3 days. Strip all the paint off, get all the nicks out of the aluminum, prime it and paint it. And then to have that horribleness happen on the stripes was not very exciting. What do you think? Don't touch it. Don't. I'll kill you. I'll kill you and I'll bury you out in that desert.